Good morning, Metalheads here now. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and today we're looking at a possibly controversial new record from Myrkur entitled Folkesange. This is the third studio album from this extreme metal project headed up by Danish singer-songwriter Amelie Brun, who through Myrkur has been fusing the worlds of gothic metal, melodic black metal, and traditional Scandinavian and Norwegian folk into one cinematic, cathartic, and empowering mix. These records are lavish, haunting, unpredictable, incredibly creative, incredibly well produced and arranged, consistently ranking as some of my favorite black metal of the last decade. Myrkur's debut album, M in particular, I would say stands as probably one of my favorite black metal albums ever made. For these reasons, though, I was initially kind of concerned upon hearing that Amelie would be shedding her black metal skin on this new album, Folkesange, which sees Myrkur abandoning their unique fusion of extreme metal and traditional Norwegian folk, instead opting to fully envelop themselves in the world of the latter, with more harmonies, more traditional lyrics and arrangements and instruments, harpsichords, more lavish production styles, a generally cleaner, more tranquil, more peaceful soundscape and atmosphere. The harrowing, blackened gothic aura, the darkness that dominated those previous records is completely gone. You won't even find electric guitar and heavy percussion on here. Still somewhat optimistic, especially considering that if you followed any of Amelie's work, you'll know that she is an accomplished singer-songwriter who has jumped back and forth between various projects, sounds, and styles over the years, not just Myrkur's brand of spooky melodic black metal, but concerned nonetheless. Especially since this is the second time this year we've seen a moderately successful, respectable name in the world of heavy metal actively change their sound following the demands of elitist metalhead crybabies. That other record being Become the Hunter from Suicide Silence, in case you didn't already know. Now, to be fair, Myrkur has addressed this issue and has said that the verbal abuse of black metal nerds worldwide has nothing to do with her change in style. It has to do with her wanting to reconnect to her Scandinavian roots and learning more about herself as a new mother. This is on public record. We can debate it another time if you like, but for the sake of this review, we're just going to keep going. Especially since, let's be honest, it wouldn't matter if she actively did cave into the demands of hyper-conservative black metal neckbeards worldwide, because even if she did, they would still find things to bitch and moan about because that's what they do. That's just what they do. But like I said, let's move on. We got an album to talk about. And with that in mind, let's address the big question right off the bat. Folkesange, despite the controversy it may or may not have stirred up, is it a success? Is it a failure? Is this drastic change in sound necessary and worthwhile? In my opinion, kinda yes and no. But I think for most people, their opinions will ultimately depend on how they already feel about Myrkur and Amelie as a songwriter. If you are one of the aforementioned true cult black metal fanboys, I don't think it really matters that this record does not have anything objectively metal in it. I think you'll still hate this record because you are still harboring that hatred and that toxicity towards Myrkur. While on the flip side, I think people that have embraced the more experimental, melodic aspects of Myrkur's sound will find a lot to enjoy and embrace in this record. For me personally, this is not the kind of music that would normally be on my radar at all. In fact, frankly, I'm reviewing this more so just because I'm bored. I'll be entirely honest with you guys. I frankly am missing the more extreme influences of Myrkur's sound. I miss the contrast that they created, and I miss the enveloping, fascinating worlds that Myrkur was able to create with their unique brand of black metal. But I won't argue that it isn't lavishly produced and written. I won't argue that the harmonies and melodies aren't hypnotizing and really powerful and cathartic in their own unique ways. And I won't argue that in a lot of aspects, Myrkur has still been able to progress as an artist and even expand the worlds of traditional Scandinavian, Norwegian, and European folk music. For instance, Leaves of Yggdrasil, one of the few tracks written and performed in English detailing a very classical tale of romance. Or for the track House Carpenter, which is her interpretation of Bob Dylan's The House Carpenter, which is his interpretation, in turn, of the traditional Scottish ballad the demon lover. What's interesting in this particular track too is she's able to channel the original spirits of both of these songs, telling a beautiful story of love and loss and patience while also creating something that sounds like a bunch of Vikings would sing around a campfire. And I love how honest and rustic and authentic the rest of this album feels. In fact, if we're talking about this just from a production standpoint, this is seriously a beautiful piece of work. It often feels like Amelie herself is singing directly to me, her voice piercing through my blackened soul. The harmonies and melodies have a lot to do with this well. Their simplicity is infectious and endearing, and the genuine love communicated across this album is quite heartwarming. Like, I don't really feel like I'm listening to an album here. I feel like I'm with Myrkur. I'm at her dinner table, we're drinking, we're eating together, and there's people over, and then we're sitting around a campfire, and we're just enjoying nature and enjoying each other's company. It's quite powerful. I can't really think of another album that has given me an experience quite like that. But, as noted, I am still missing the extreme influences, and while I won't ask Myrkur to taint the soul of Folkesange with black metal tremolo riffs and haunting screams, I will recommend in the future, if she's going more into the sound, that some electric guitars and some heavy percussion can make a big difference in creating something a little bit more cathartic and dramatic. There's nothing about this record I think is objectively really bad. It just ultimately doesn't work with me more and more as the album goes on, and especially as I come back for multiple listens. It's a very relaxing album, and it made for a great palate cleanser following some of the massively heavy material I've seen recently on here, but that's really all it can exist as for me personally. The whole album for me grows to be somewhat one note and repetitive as I'm constantly waiting for something new to be introduced to contrast with what we have here, like on previous Myrkur records. I miss the terror, the haunting aura. Em and Meredith were these beautiful collections of epic soundscapes and darkness, whereas this is just nice. And there's nothing wrong with nice. But nice doesn't really cut it for me personally. With this in mind, I'm going to give this album a 3 out of 5 and accept that whatever issues I have with this thing are my own issues, and that no matter how well Myrkur excelled at this, there were certain things that I was looking for in Myrkur's sound that simply are not there, and therefore I am inherently a little disappointed by it. I got no shame in admitting that. I'm a little biased here. I'm fine with that. But even with that bias, I still had a really enjoyable time. And with that in mind, I should emphasize this is a very enthusiastic 3 out of 5. And I should also encourage you that if you're interested in traditional folk music, or you're just looking for something a little bit more laid back in comparison to what we normally talk about on the Metal Meltdown, that you will legitimately enjoy yourself. I will say, though, I can picture some people being legitimately kind of miffed about this album for more political reasons. For instance, when we first started hearing promo singles from this album and started to see the cover artwork and started to hear the concept behind it, our good friend Darkmoon Desires confided in me that she felt that this was contributing to the trad wife internet meme, the idea that women must be more matronly, traditional, and submissive to a male partner. I personally don't know enough about this to fully comment, but if one person is thinking it, then I have to assume that some other people are thinking it. Ultimately, though, I would still recommend this album, so long as you're prepared for the fact that this is not the regular Myrkur work. And so long as you're also willing to accept that this is very likely Myrkur's new musical direction going forward. 3 out of 5, nowhere near as dangerous and adventurous as some previous records, but still pretty enjoyable for what it is, even if it isn't the kind of album I would normally listen to. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.